What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Effin' Nerds podcast, episode number 9. I'm Nick Denizio. Sitting across from me is my dude, Martin Moreno.
How you doing, man?
Oh, doing all right.
We're back pretty
Not
quick.
Too bad. We are back pretty quick.
Which is exciting.
We're gonna try to keep a little bit more consistency going with this. So you want to just jump right in?
Let's do it. Let's go.
Jumping right in. Tom Cruise is going to space.
Space.
Tom Cruise is going to space. The veteran actor is teaming up with his Edge of Tomorrow director, Doug Liman, for a new action-adventure movie set in outer space, literally. The duo will partner with Elon Musk's SpaceX and NASA to help bring the original idea from Liman and Cruise to life. I mean, I've only been calling this for the last, couple years.
The question is, though...
Yes.
The real question is, who's going to get to space first? Tom Cruise or Fast and Furious?
Tom Cruise.
That is... I don't know, man.
It's always been Tom Cruise.
Maybe. Who knows? But for all we know, because Fast and Furious isn't going to come out for a while. It got a little postponed. So they could be doing some stuff behind the scenes and kind of low-key...
Well, no, Fast and Furious isn't going to space. They're going back in time. That's what's going on in Fast and Furious.
That's going to happen in the next one. So then how do you top the next one? Let's go to space. So it's only a matter... One of those two is going to space.
Or they finally do that crossover with Jurassic Park that I keep hearing about.
Wait, what?
You haven't heard about this?
No.
Dude, I kept hearing that Fast and Furious is basically going to team up with both G.I. Joe. It's going to be G.I. Joe, Fast and Furious, and Jurassic Park. And it's going to be this one big crossover event.
Shut the fuck up. I would be all in for that. However, I heard about the Transformers, G.I. Joe,
crossover.
and Power Rangers crossover. I've heard about that.
That's a good one.
Which I think could work. I've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah.
I know how to properly structure it, And you can start off with Rita being on the moon and she finds Zed and all this other stuff happens. You can work. It can work.
We can write the scripts.
We can. I may or may not have a couple drafts already written, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, look, we've been jokingly saying this for a while now. So the fact that it's kind of somewhat confirmed, it's no surprise. Tom Cruise is a fucking nut job. So I'm sure the second there was a possibility of this happening, he immediately picked up the phone. He's like, okay, when are we going to do this? When are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? All this crazy shit started going through his head.
And it's kind of funny that they went with Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is probably the only person that's probably all for it, because he's very big on SpaceX. Obviously, they actually just had this massive launch yesterday,
so cool,
which is really cool
and good for him too.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I know he's a controversial figure, but you can tell that he's one of the few that's definitely trying to progress space exploration.
Right, and then if you see how he sort of he took some else, but he bounced back.
Yeah.
I believe it was the 4th mission. I believe what it was of the Falcon or whatever rocket it was, but it was 3 failed attempts, I believe. Don't quote me on this. And then the 4th one, it was a do or die. We have to do this or it's gonna fail.
Right.
And apparently it was successful. And then from there, it's slowly been building.
And now they've actually put. Now astronauts are in space. That whole thing yesterday was.
The next person, Tom Cruise. Or Dominic Toretto.
Or
who knows? It's yet to be seen. But regardless, pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I think after Mission Impossible Fallout, when they had the whole that big sequence in the beginning where they basically had the whole I'm trying to think of the proper word for it, where they basically free falled out of that plane in the beginning of Mission Impossible Fallout, which was real. Everything that they did on Mission was real.
A plane.
No, you're thinking of Rogue Nation.
Okay, I was about to say I'm crossing my.
I'm talking about Fallout in the very beginning.
What was that?
That was the Darth Vader.
Followed by
that.
Okay, it's all right. It's not broken. We can keep going.
We'll keep going. What I'm talking about is in Mission Impossible Fallout, when it's more towards the beginning.
This is what happens in the effing nerds when you don't talk about nerd stuff. Star Wars comes back to haunt you. Literally, Star Wars poster fell and Darth Vader fell. They're you're the effing nerds.
Right.
No, we talk about other stuff, not just
not just.
I mean, we'll eventually get to Superman and shit, but
yeah.
The Force, relax.
We do talk about other stuff. But the sequence that I'm referring to is. In the beginning, it's Tom Cruise, Henry Cavill, and they have to jump out of the plane.
Okay, so you threw me off. That's not the... I know what you're saying. It's not the beginning, but because
it's how towards the beginning.
It's towards the beginning, but how there's always in every Mission Impossible movie there's a beginning.
Rogue Nation is
the plane. Ghost Protocol's the big jail breaking sequence. So that's what kind of threw me off a little bit. But yes, Yeah, I believe like half of that was pretty much realistic, and then they kind of worked it in with like CG.
Well, they worked CG in, but him jumping out of the plane was real, and the plane,
crazy.
The plane I think was at the altitude that is like as far as you can go before literally like making that next step into space. So it was as high up as you can go, and then obviously with the new Top Gun movie, kind of a very similar situation of him, flying jets, going into different,
And he was like arguing for stuff. I can't remember what it was.
Well, he wanted. I think he wanted to fly one of the aircrafts himself, and the government was basically like, no.
Right. I think that's what it was.
They're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But it just feels like that he's done everything up until this point. So the next logical step is to be, and people have speculated this for a long, long time, that it's the next step for him to go into space and shoot a movie in space.
We know some doubters. We're not gonna name.
Oh yeah,
names.
we know a few doubters.
We know a few doubters who got their shit pushed in.
Yeah.
Once this news broke, but yeah, it's exciting, man. And I'm all in. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's cool.
And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Tom Cruise himself, because he's done a really good job of kind of rebuilding his image after the whole like couch jumping incident.
Yeah,
like after War of the Worlds, it was when he had the whole jumping on the couch, and then a lot of stuff about Scientology came out, and he had a lot of like flops like shortly after that. And Mission Impossible movies have kind of like brought him back, and it's kind of at the point now where it's like people recognize like, yeah, he's a crazy fuck, but his movies are really like entertaining and good.
Also one of the few one of the very few sort of movie series that have just gotten better
and better.
Yeah, which for the most part usually they kind of like go downhill.
Right.
Once you hit a certain like. The third one's always like the magic number. That's like the one. Can you hit it or not?
Right.
Obviously, I've enjoyed all the Mission Impossible movies, but I would say that my favorite ones are probably like if I were to rank them, are probably like the more later ones are like definitely in the top half.
And it's also the ones that Christopher McQuarrie has been involved with, because he directed Rogue Nation and Fallout, and he did a uncredited rewrite on Ghost Protocol. So he's been heavily involved since. So, and even though it's Tom Cruise and Doug Liman on this space movie, McQuarrie.
I believe it's pronounced Lyman.
Is it Lyman?
I'm pretty sure it's.
All right. Well, hopefully if it's Doug Liman, then
yeah.
Chris McQuarrie is going to be involved in that somehow, whether he's going to be writing the script or anything. But Tom Cruise and McQuarrie have just been such a like awesome partnership, like since they've kind of teamed up, and they've just been making good stuff ever since.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to make a shit more. Crazy stuff.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
All right, next up, some Jurassic World Dominion news.
Yes.
We've been wondering when Jurassic World Dominion could possibly resume filming after production was shut down in March due to the coronavirus. But during a recent interview with The Guardian, actor Sam Neill, a.k.a. Dr. Grant himself, revealed that he's hopeful that production can resume in July, stating all sets are there and waiting. While no official announcement has been made, the film is still on track to make its June 2021 release date. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we kind of expected this, that they were just immediately, any production that was shut down because of the coronavirus is going to literally just jump right back in.
I believe Batman already got the go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of movies that were set to shoot in the UK have recently been given the go ahead to resume filming July 1st, I think.
Right, which is I'm hoping they can bring this home. I'm a little skeptical of not of the actors involved, but like the storytellers.
The storytelling team behind it.
But regardless, I'm excited to see Dr. Alan Grant, Dr. Ellie Sattler, Ian Malcolm, like all these iconic characters who have just, like impacted me on like crazy level. To see them come back and just be in that world again, I can't wait. Like, I'm so excited, and I hope that it delivers. I really hope it delivers, because it hurts when these movies are not good, and when because I just love them so much. So I just really hope that they can close out the chapter. Like, don't worry about how these movies make money. Don't worry about like how you can keep it going. Just focus on giving it a proper ending, and then once that's done, then maybe years from now see how it can continue, whatever. But I know people, I've seen reports of people saying like, oh, like how this can lead for how can we continue the franchise? Like, don't even worry about that.
Right.
Just properly give it an ending, properly close this book, and then focus on other shit.
Yeah, and I think the hope too is that with this time off, with this whole break from the coronavirus, that they've taken the steps to revise some things and make some things better. And it's like because a lot of these big movies, when they have a release date, it's go, get it done and get it out for the release date in time. Like there's sometimes there's not enough time to do pre-production and to properly plan.
Unless you're Christopher Nolan.
But it's like you had this time now. You had a couple months to, smooth out any of those rough edges that you had on your film, and hopefully you get to go back and
possibly rethink some things too.
That's what I mean too. Is that these filmmakers had a lot of time to go back and focus on some things that they didn't have the time for. So it's like the hope is that when these movies start back up, they're going to be even better than what they were before.
Yeah, I'm excited to see dinosaurs. Excited to see dinosaurs eat people. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that close up on Dr. Alan Grant, and he says something like intense, because that always. It's always like the little bit of music with some background noise, and it closes up, and then he says something.
It's that nice camera pan.
Yeah.
Either way, you probably won't get off this island alive.
Fucking Alan Grant, baby. All I know is that they better bring an ascot into this, or I'm checking out.
Yeah.
No ascot, I'm checking.
There's no ascot or proper hat. I'm done.
I'm done. I'm out.
All right, moving on to some Universal Monster news, which this one kind of came out of nowhere and was a bit of a shock. Ryan Gosling has signed on to lead Universal's remake of The Wolfman, with Corey Finley of Bad Education and Thoroughbreds fame said to be among the choices for director. The script is based off an original pitch by Gosling and written by Lauren Shocker Blum. And
I'm not sure if that's Jason Blum's wife.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
Wait, let me go back.
That makes sense.
The script is based off an original pitch by Gosling and written by Lauren Shocker Blum and Rebecca Angelo, who wrote Netflix. Oh, God. Who wrote? Yeah. Let me start this again.
Take two.
The script is based off an original pitch by Gosling and written by Lauren Shocker. Oh, my God. Fuck it.
Keeping this
I'm going back. We're doing it live.
Quiet on set.
I'm not even saying that middle name. I'm not. The script is based off an original pitch by Gosling, written by Lauren Blum and Rebecca Angelo, who wrote for Netflix's Orange is the New Black. No other details regarding the plot have been released, but it is said to be set in present time and in the vein of Jake Gyllenhaal's Nightcrawler, which is really cool, with a supernatural twist, obviously. Mm-hmm. So this is really interesting because Ryan Gosling is not somebody I would have expected for them to be as the Wolfman. I also didn't think that the Wolfman was going to be the next movie that they do, especially since that the last one, Benicio del Toro, was not very well received. But I do like Corey Finley a lot. I haven't seen Thoroughbreds, but I love Bad Education, and I think he's a really nice fit for this. And then also the fact of how they're describing it as like a supernatural Nightcrawler, which Nightcrawler is already freaky as to begin with, and now when you add in that supernatural twist,
that whole notion's like I was wondering. I'm sorry, I just struggling a little bit. That laugh kind of loosened some stuff up.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm still dealing with the mutant X gene known as seasonal allergies. It's like, remember when we watched Chernobyl? It's like in fucking comics when you get radiation or like a mutant X gene, like you become a superhero. Not in real life.
Not in real life.
In real life, your face swells up, you get headaches, you sneezing. But yeah, that whole Nightcrawler situation is what it's interesting to me because when you say of similar to Jake Gyllenhaal's Nightcrawler, like I'm like, do you mean like he's gonna be
like plot wise? Is he gonna be like a reporter? Is he
gonna
be
a cameraman, or is he going to be doing some some scheming, conniving that takes place mostly at night? Mm-hmm. Like, can you imagine if it's a situation where like, oh, there's reports that there's like a crazy animal out in like Los Angeles or something, and he's physically going and attacking people and then recording it, being like the first reporter on the scene.
That would be
insane. That
would be really insane.
Right. So it's like
if he knew what he was and he was using it to sell stories and stuff.
Right. Like that would be crazy. That would be awesome. So
that would be the other thing too. The thing that I'm hopeful for, and if The Invisible Man was kind of a stepping stone and kind of an idea of what these movies are going to be moving forward, the only thing that I would say is do not make him a hero or even an anti-hero. What the original Wolfman is he's a tragic figure. He's somebody who had this happen to him, and it's something that he can't control. And he doesn't do things for good. He doesn't, it's, you know what I mean? Like he's somebody that has no control over this. And for most of the other stories, in the end, he ends up getting killed. And it's tragic. Like I said, like he's a tragic character. So don't try to flip it. Don't make him an anti-hero. Don't do any of that kind of stuff. I don't want to see any of that.
The only thing is that if 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 it's Ryan Gosling and this is supposedly continuing the monster universe, then maybe there's the assumption that there's going to be more movies. So I don't know if, but that's something that obviously we'll get to once.
I mean, that also goes into the notion of if you expect them to connect everything like they were originally going to do. Like, obviously, the idea now was that they were just going to do it more in the vein of Invisible Man, where it's like lower budget, it's more horror,
and it's more story driven. Like, don't rely so much on other stuff. Just focus on your one movie, and if it could genuinely and
maybe expand.
Exactly,
right?
then do it that way. But Ryan Gosling, like you said, is a. That's one good-looking Wolfman. Not to mention the fact that, I mean, if you remember from Crazy Stupid Love, when he takes his shirt off, he doesn't have a single piece of hair on his body. Right. So, like, they're gonna need some serious effects for that.
Right.
But yeah, I love Ryan Gosling is like maybe top 3 actor for me. Like, that dude, I just think everything that he's obviously Drive, which was such an impactful movie to me, like on a personal level, like. Just so many things that he's done, and just he just has so much range, and he's shown it off and covered so many different genres. And he's kind of in recent years kind of stuck more in that sort of indie route. Like, he had his almost like bigger movies every now and then, but then he went back and really explored he had fun and explored and was creative with these smaller budget films. So we were bringing him on to this new universe. Who, like we said, whether it keeps going or not is yet to be determined, but. You can't go wrong with Ryan Gosling, in my opinion. So let's do it.
Yeah, and the fact that he pitched it too. Like, it's from his. So he had the idea for it to begin with.
And he has a history of working with dark themed materials. So like, I'm sure if what Ryan Gosling we're gonna get, if it's Place Beyond the Pines, Drive, like the more quiet, moody, whatever. Or like maybe a little bit more upbeat. Like, I have no idea. I have no fucking clue.
Right.
But I'm so excited, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about this, because that Nightcrawler aspect is like a fucking wrench that you're throwing in this entire situation. Like,
right.
That's like a wild card, and I'm excited to see what that really entails in regards to like that being thrown out there. That it's going to be more of like a Nightcrawler vibe,
right? And how it affects the story and everything.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like how Ryan Gosling, how he's just explored different things. He's one of the few actors in the last, like, I would want to say decade, maybe even longer, who's had such incredible like runs and like a streak almost, like the streaks of films that he's just picked, and every single one is like critically acclaimed. For the most part, it's successful. And he's just a guy that picks very smart projects. So the fact that he's on board with this and it's his idea, and he's got some really awesome, creative forces behind the camera. You should be excited for it,
Yeah, and like he's one of the few, like we were saying, that can turn it on and off. Like,
yes.
You never really see like whatever, you always just see whatever character he's portraying. You never, like, I don't personally ever, like, for the longest time I just thought of Notebook and this cheesy rom-com kind of heartthrob, but then he obviously proved otherwise with those other projects, so I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm pumped.
Okay, next up, and this is pretty awesome. JK Simmons was recently asked by a fan if we could see him in future Spider-Man movies after his shocking cameo in last year's Spider-Man Far From Home. Simmons then went on to explain that he had signed a contract for 2 more sequels. While this doesn't guarantee that we would get him back, it does leave the door open for him to return and reprise his role as J Jonah Jameson, a role he played in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. To add more to this, he's apparently going to be in Morbius with Jared Leto and Michael Keaton, who's also coming back.
Was that confirmed?
I can't give a source. Not that I'm hiding a source. I just can't give a source because
let's not. We may or may not be connected, people.
According to my sources.
Yeah, we may or may not be connected. Then you're gonna get us shut down and canceled. Okay.
Because I said that, I probably should have looked it up, because it's something that I read on Twitter, and I want to say it's somebody that's in the business that said it, but I could also just be some asshole on Twitter that just said something, and it's like, oh, he's gonna be in that one too. But
or it could be our inside source that we're keeping a secret.
It could be. So we're leaving the door open on that one, but. Obviously, this is kind of a no-brainer, because there's, like, J.K. Simmons is one of those characters in the same vein that I look at for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, like one of the few actors that just embodies the character so well that you can't see anybody else playing that role going forward.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
And he's just one where he just did it so well, and he was so much fun to watch in Raimi's original trilogy that, yeah, I'm all for this.
Right, like he came in at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home looking completely different.
Right.
I believe he still had the stash.
He had the stash, but he had the bald head.
The bald head, but even just the way, just his mannerisms, the way he acts, everything about it, you're just like, oh, that's fucking J. Jonah Jameson, And And I feel like we were talking about this past decade, he's one of those few actors that's really kind of gone up the ranks and really kind of shined, so to speak, and good for him because he deserves all the accolades. And I'm happy that he can possibly come back as J. Jonah because I want to see that interaction of him just going in, shitting on Spider-Man, and Spider-Man being like a much younger, like, because like being younger and just see how Tom Holland and that Spider-Man kind of reacts to some of the negative shit that's being said to him, so I'm looking forward to that sort of possible dynamic. And why not? Like, where do I sign up? Like, bring them on. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
And then there's also the question of what kind of state is like the Daily Bugle in, because I'm pretty sure in Far From Home, like I don't know how they're going to do this going forward, because we're kind of opening up for a larger discussion here, because there is the talk of them possibly doing a more live action version of Into the Spider-Verse, but with Tom Holland Spider-Man, so that it's in a perfect nerd world that they basically just connect all the Spider-Man movies that have been in previous have now, they're basically different. They're different universes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, thank you. So the idea is that maybe Tobey Maguire will pop in and possibly, I don't know if Andrew Garfield will come back, but you know what I mean. Like there's this whole idea.
Well, we know that Andrew Garfield would definitely come back because he loves the character and he had so much fun. And like what's interesting, which I'm not sure if we said this before in a previous episode, but the Spider-Man that we see in the Morbius trailer, that's Raimi's Spider-Man on that poster.
Yes.
So, yeah,
right. Like this could really be a thing. And the whole idea I was getting at is maybe the J. Jonah Jameson we have in Far From Home is not the J. Jonah we know from.
Well, obviously,
the Raimi show,
I would assume that.
Because I think they said that before he comes on, don't they say something about from the controversial website Daily Bugle something,
which is more like tailored to the times now.
Yes.
Like go back in like the early 2000s, that made sense. Like the editor in chief of like a reporter. Nowadays, everything's like fucking vlogs and Twitter and all that shit. So. Yeah, it makes sense that he maybe at some point started like maybe a YouTube channel or something early on. Like I totally
he's like an Alex Jones type now, just spitting out conspiracy theories. And shit.
Or maybe like someone else we were just talking about earlier. No, we're not going to drop any names, but Christ.
Yeah, I
know. But yeah, they essentially have the key to. English is not my first language. What's that term?
What term are you looking for?
The key to the
keys to the kingdom?
Is that what it is?
Yes, the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah. They essentially have the keys to the kingdom with this, because when you introduce Spider-Verse, you literally have now, you already established the fact that there's multiple worlds, you know, and like it's there. If you want to do it, I'm sure you already kind of set the groundwork for it, and if that ever does happen where we get all these Spider-Man, the only thing that would be weird is the animation to live action crossover.
Well, that's if they do, like, I don't know if they would bring.
Oh, you're not saying in that sense.
I'm
you're
just saying they do it like live action.
So Raimi's Mark Rebbs and then John Watts' Spider-Man.
And then maybe at some point you introduce a live action Miles into the mix as well.
Mm-hmm. Which they kind of already alluded to in Homecoming.
I think Donald Glover plays his uncle.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So. Yeah, I mean, I assumed that's kind of what they were alluding to. So at this point, just kind of comes down to can they
pull it off?
Exactly,
right?
And we're all here for it. I love Spider-Man. I love I don't want to say all Spider-Man films, but I just love that character. And I do have some issues with Far From Home and Homecoming, but I do really enjoy Tom Holland as the character.
Right.
So they're just adding. They're essentially now have more to play with in the third one, and let's see what's gonna happen.
I also feel like they're getting closer to introducing Sinister Six as well.
Yes, that too. That's another thing.
And especially, I mean, because there's so many factors to think about, like what in terms of what's Sony gonna want to do now that they're trying to build like a almost villain kind of universe minus Spider-Man, but then Sony still has rights to the character, so the idea is that Tom Holland is going to come in, and now the fact that Michael Keaton popped up in the Morbius trailer,
which just again opens up more like doors, windows again. But it's just like we already have we have Vulture, we have probably Morbius. I'm sure they're kind of
right.
I guess we'll have Venom, maybe.
You have Mysterio,
which is an OG member.
You have Scorpion.
We already have Gargan,
who is who is shout out to Michael Mando, who is awesome, and he's in Better Call Saul, and he's awesome in Better Call Saul.
Yeah?
So I'm excited to see that he's the Scorpion for this universe.
So that's 5, and then the 6th one, I guess, is TBD.
Yeah,
We'll find out. But
I keep hearing Craven. I keep hearing rumors of Craven, which is interesting.
well, I mean, Venom is not really a Sinister Six like member throughout the different iterations. Iterations, whatever.
Bro, I got you.
through the several iterations. But Craven to me is like, I know there's a lot of talk about Craven possibly coming on, but like I would have, the fact that they pretty much put his identity out there kind of takes away from some, in my opinion, some of the Craven, I guess, fun that you could have had, because you definitely could have had Craven come in and be like hired to find out who his identity is and hunt him. Now it makes it a little bit more easier for Craven. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm sure there's still ways that they can get around that whole him hunting Spider-Man, but that's even if Craven's coming on board. We're just kind of speculating at this point. But I would have loved, I thought Craven made sense originally, but like I said, now the fact that his identity's out there to the world, maybe not so much anymore. Maybe try something different. But who cares about what I have to say? Like, obviously there are other people, professionals who are in charge, and hopefully they just make the right decisions.
I mean, it's definitely one of those things too where like I do like the idea of Craven just because I haven't seen Craven done live action before, and Spider-Man is kind of like Batman in the sense where he has such an amazing rogues gallery of villains.
Dude, him and Batman have the best.
So like, you want to see new villains done. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see different villains. Like, I don't want to keep seeing the same stuff over again. Although, probably the only one that I would love to see is I want to see a new version of Doc Ock. But the fact that, the MCU Peter is taking kind of a different trajectory in terms of, like, his path and, like, what he's on. Like, obviously, I don't think we're ever going to see him as a reporter. I don't think we're ever going to see him, not a reporter, but, like, a photographer. Like, we're not going to see any of that. So, I'm curious as to how they're going to integrate some of this stuff into him, I mean,
you never know, bro. Thor's getting a 4th movie.
No, I know.
So I mean, even though that's like completely MCU, but who knows?
Right.
If
it's
everything goes well,
it's just that Peter Parker's origin is definitely different in the MCU version.
Right, but if he does get to college, I mean, which would probably be like in the 4th movie, you're kind of speaking about that, he could possibly intern somewhere and maybe intern at a science place, or because he's already they kind of kept with that character trait that he's smart, that he kind of he's a garbage junkie, how Tony describes him and he built his shit and all that stuff. So yeah, maybe he gets an internship with Oscorp or something, with Auto Industries. Is that what it's called?
Octavius Industries, I think, maybe. Yeah.
In the Spider-Man 4 game. Oh, not Spider-Man 4. Just
PS4.
PS4. Yeah. Look at me. Multiverse crossing my fucking words. I'm like, like freaking out like when they do their thing.
And obviously you've been glitching.
Glitching? No. Why would you even say that?
But yeah, just that's a whole nother discussion for another day, another time.
Absolutely. All right, and our final big news of the day, and this is a big one.
The big one.
After years of speculation, we may finally have hope in regards to Henry Cavill's Superman. It has been reported that Cavill, who portrayed Superman in 3 films for DC, is set to return, but in limited fashion. Similar to MCU's Hulk, Cavill's Superman may only appear in future DC movies as a supporting character or cameo, and not in a standalone Superman movie. So this is definitely interesting. I think a lot of it hinges on the success of the Snyder Cut in terms of what happens with the character going forward. But it's nice to see, either way, if he can come back and, start popping up in DC movies, I'm all for it. I love Cavill as Superman. I think he's perfect for it. He's this generation Superman, and he hasn't been given... and I don't mean this to shit on Zack Snyder or anything like that, but he hasn't been given the proper movie to play the Superman that most of us know. Like, a lot of it, like Man of Steel was his origin. BVS was, still like a lot of what Zack Snyder was doing with the character was giving him an origin, and eventually he would become the Superman that we know and love. We haven't gotten to that point yet, and we felt shortchanged when Justice League came out, and then he was said to be off of the role, and it was a bummer, because you wanted to see him, become that character that we all expected. So hopefully this leads to it, and what do you think? Like, what do you think he's going to pop up in? How do you think?
Well, I mean, I just liked your intro to the topic when it's like we may have hope on his Superman. It's a little cheesy, but who writes this stuff?
I don't know who does write.
I don't know who writes this stuff. I love Henry Cavill as Superman. You know I have my issues with him as an actor.
Yeah.
But the guy literally is Superman. Like, he's fucking Superman. Like, when you see him with the suit, the way he takes it upon himself to really build up his body to look like a suit, like he has superhuman strength, and really resemble physically and like, well, yeah, physically, everything physically, the way he looks, everything to resemble his comic book counterpart. Is like, it's a credit to him. And I'm excited that he's coming back. Like you said, we still... I do think that the because HBO Max right now is off to a rough start.
They're off to a rough start.
Yeah, so it kind of almost makes it like, it almost jacks it up a little bit. Like, yo, like Seneca, you can come in and like you can be the savior.
You can save HBO Max.
You can give us hope, literally,
right.
in all sense of the word. But I'm excited for him to come back. I believe this news broke like 1 or 2 days after the Snyder Cut news broke. Right?
It was actually a lot later. It was it was this past week. The night that we did the watch party for Logan was when the news dropped.
Wait, when did the...
Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. The Snyder Cut talk was last week. Jesus, my quarantine.
I know.
Days are all just fucking...
Days all come together.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm excited for him. And I would like him to get his own movie, but let's just take what we're getting for now. And I'm sure there's many ways you can incorporate him, and you can incorporate him into other films. And like we said, once Seneca comes out, and hopefully if it does well, it'll give him, like right now he just has like a little bit of life, and like he has like the health bar's at like 50%, with just the cameos. But maybe if Seneca comes out and it's good, it'll crank up that health bar to 100 and bring him in for his own solo.
Yeah, and I think if the Snyder Cut is successful, I think we're gonna get a Man of Steel sequel. I think what they're doing right now is I think they're trying to not throw too much out there, which I know Warner Brothers and DC, like you've always had this issue of them announcing too much, and even maybe now they're announcing too much, but still they're not going so far as to say, oh, he's going to come back for a Man of Steel sequel. It's like
I'll give him credit for that.
We're gonna get him back. He's gonna be kind of limited. We're gonna have him show up and stuff, which to me, in terms of going forward and the movies that they have coming out that are supposedly still connected to this DCEU. The logical one for me, obviously, is Shazam 2. Because Shazam 1, they obviously tried to get him to do the cameo at the end.
It's fun because I'm opposite.
You're opposite?
Yeah, I'm
what do you think? What do you think? It's
no. Go ahead, do your thing, and then I'll...
So like for me, it just makes sense because they tried to get him to come in for a cameo in the end of Shazam 1. Obviously, they couldn't work out a contract because apparently he wanted to do a Man of Steel sequel, and Warner Brothers said no. So he was like, all right, fine, well, I'm not coming back at all. So they had to do, which to me is the worst part.
Selfish.
It's the worst part of... But it's the worst part of Shazam for me is that stupid cameo at the end. I think it's unnecessary. It's not needed. The fact that it's not Cavill, but it's his suit, I think is absolutely foolish that they kept it in there.
And it's almost like a fuck you to Cavill.
It feels like it, especially since that, at the time that Shazam came out, it was them trying to get away from that Snyder verse. So the fact that they kept it in there to me it just felt like a detriment to the movie itself. Hopefully maybe they'll reshoot it and add it in later as a recut for Shazam.
I believe something just came out with
it's people making fun of it though. Like even the director David Sandberg got involved and posted like a funny thing about it. But the fact that he's somewhat established in Shazam, to me it makes sense that he would come back in Shazam 2. But it's possible, like, I don't know how they're going to restructure it, but, you could have him show up in Aquaman 2 or the third Wonder Woman film. There's all different kinds of stuff you could do with him, the fact that he's now in a limited role. And it also is nice to see him coming back for cameos because it just expands that world and it makes it feel like there's more superheroes in that world. Because when you get to solo movies, it feels very... I guess narrow viewed, like that was always the thing in some of the MCU movies where like there's this catastrophic stuff going on in the solo films. Where is everybody else?
And didn't they? I feel like that was someone made a jab about that recently, but I can't really. It doesn't come to mind. Where something's going on, they're like, where is every?
Oh,
Far From Home.
Far From Home did that.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, where's Thor? Oh, he's off world. Where's Captain Marvel? No contact.
But he's also like, this needs to be like an Avengers level threat. Right. Remember he's saying that, and he's gonna take care of it. But other than kryptonite, do you know what Superman's weakness is?
Mustaches.
That was amazing. That was really good, Nick. Oh man, you made me one proud partner. No, not mustache.
What are you thinking?
Magic. It's magic.
Magic. Okay.
Yeah. So it would make sense that he would come in for for Black Adam or Shazam 2 because you can play around with the whole fact of making him vulnerable somehow. But my idea of where I would like to see him, I would like to see him in Aquaman 2.
Okay.
Because we still don't really know exactly what's going on with Aquaman 2, but I'm a massive fan of Aquaman in the comics. And I believe it was the first couple issues of Rebirth. I believe it was issues 1 through 6, which centers around Aquaman trying to find a sort of peaceful balance between his Atlantis priorities and his dedications to Earth, essentially being part American as well. So I think for Aquaman 2, you could definitely take like a political route where, you know, Arthur, like remember in Civil War when they're having like that briefing room and General Ross is going like over the attacks, he's like Sokovia, New York, Washington.
Right.
And that's why the Sokovia Accords kind of come into play because of everything that happened. You can do something like that similar with Aquaman 2 where you can have like the attacks of when Orm essentially attacks the shores. All like that big tidal wave comes and fucks everything up. And you can also have like the Sicily attack, so to speak, when like an Atlantean fight damaged the streets of Italy.
Right.
Or something along those lines. And you can kind of bring a political aspect to it. You can have Arthur come in and speak on behalf of Atlantis and America, like being like an American citizen.
Right.
And then in the Rebirth issues, essentially, Black Manta, which was also established in Aquaman, he and Nemo essentially kind of they kind of like fake an attack on an American ship to make it look like an Atlantean attack. Right. Which was also kind of done in the first one.
It was, yeah, a little bit.
Right. And then that kind of sparks a feud between Atlantis and the American government. And in the middle of that is obviously Aquaman. And he's trying to like kind of figure everything out. He's cooperating with both governments. And it comes down to like war's about to break out. So then Mira kind of breaks him out. And Superman, being the red, white, and blue Boy Scout, is there and be like, look, dude, I'm here on behalf of the president. Like, you gotta chill the fuck out. Like, and Aquaman obviously being a little offended, seen as like a sort of war terrorist, or they kind of go at it. Right. And they have this great fight, and it's awesome, and it's an amazing panel, and it's my background. It's been my background forever, and it's right there. But yeah, they have this huge fight, and it's really cool. And just the thing about DC that people and like my friends and I like over the years have kind of discussed is that like DC are like the gods, you know, like literally like new gods and shit. The Marvel is more like the monsters. It's like the mutants, literal mutants, and then all radiation, get bitten by a spider, get radiation in your eye, like all these kind of like, when you have like these gods, like even Batman who doesn't have powers, but when you see like Batfleck and Aquaman talking to each other, and like they're just these two massive beings, like you get this sense of like these are fucking gods, like
which is kind of the idea that like when Batman and Superman fight in BVS, it's kind of that's kind of how it felt. Like, because even though Batman is a human, like his armor and everything, and how he kind of equalizes Superman, it just his felt presence. Just felt like these two, like you said, like these two gods just going at it. Right,
and then it's like, and then you see Aquaman and Batman just talking, and you're like I hear you talk to fish, and you're just like, these are fucking like gods on like is it Mount Olympus?
Yeah,
like
Mount
Olympus, just like having a conversation. It's either like just royal blood, like because Diana, Arthur,
right,
you know, or like aliens, or even like just like Hogger, like all these other characters. Like these are just these gods, and like I want to see them go at it. And if they can do something, which they did really well in the comics, and granted, not everything translates well directly from comics, you kind of have to adapt it and do all those things. But if they can find a way to kind of incorporate Superman into Aquaman 2, kind of on behalf of, since he's a little bit more established and he's now this new sign for hope.
Right.
Like, because obviously what we get, that's actually another interesting question, which it's a whole other topic, but like, are the Superman that we see in the future movies, is that going to be an offspring of JL that came out, or Snyder's JL? Like, that can be a whole nother like discussion too. So but regardless, I would love to see him in Aquaman 2. That's where I personally would like to see him. I think it would make sense to have him in like Shazam or like Black Adam, because they're like these kind of like massive superpower figures, even though Aquaman is too. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
I actually really do like that idea of him popping up in Aquaman 2, because
once again, I'm sweating. Get so excited, man.
Get so
I just start
excited.
sweating.
But yeah, I just like that idea that you're just kind of filling out the universe, and it makes sense to have Superman kind of be like that representative of like,
he's the
America
hope. He's
and
the
the
beacon of
government.
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like policing different events that are happening on Earth.
The one thing I really do like about that whole thing, which is kind of obviously hard to do, but Joker, I just saw that and my brain just. But Aquaman has he kind of reveals in that whole fight with Superman that he's always kind of felt as like the outsider.
Right. Which they've done a lot in the movies too, that he's like
Right.
the outsider to both humans and Atlanteans.
Right. So it's like and it's like it's a really nice moment because he's like there's a beloved trinity of you, Bruce, and Diana. He's like saying this as he's fighting. And
Yeah.
he's like, and then you have like this partnership between Flash and Cyborg. Like he's essentially just venting as he's fighting Superman, which is like it's like a very personal part of his character that he's kind of putting out on the table. And the whole time Superman's just like, dude, that's not what it's about. Like, don't feel like that. And they've already made they made a really quick Justice League reference in Aquaman.
Yeah.
It's like you helped defeat Steppenwolf. Like that's it, and that's
it.
Just
That's
get
all-
it out
that's-
there.
that's all they did.
Boom,
Yep.
in and out. Just get it out. But yeah, I've always kind of in my little brain, I've always just saw it as the Aquaman movie. Like we got the first one, second one. Let's explore him as the king now.
Right.
Talking on behalf of Atlantis and America. And then the third one, exploring him as a human, like having maybe because there's a great story with Throne of Atlantis when his dad dies. So then having him like essentially dealing with the fact that he just lost his dad and going like a more human route. That was always like how I kind of pictured the
Like a trilogy. if you
yeah,
will, yeah.
almost. But yeah, I would just love to because I don't want to. I want to see these kind of like we were talking these gods, these titans, and for me, the one that I really want to see the showdown is between Aquaman and Superman.
Which would be really cool to see.
yeah, I mean, come on, dude.
And you mentioned before, what if they do more Superman, like are they going to do is the Snyder cut going to be canon, or is the original Justice League going to be canon? I don't think it matters because I think either way, Superman's going to end up in the same place he was.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense
in both versions.
Right, that makes sense.
The other thing that's a big speculation is the fact that Cavill's been working out a lot. I mean, and it could just be for Witcher season 2, which I think they haven't started filming yet. Which I think he was even more massive in Witcher than he was in Superman, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But either way, there's a lot of speculation that he's going to come back to do some reshoots for Justice League, especially since all the stuff came out about the fact that the Snyder Cut might cost more money now, and that more reshoots might be coming in. Even though they said that they weren't, it could be now that they're going to. I think they're keeping mum on a lot of different stuff. They're not telling us everything, which is understandable because you don't know how things are going to happen, what's going to be affected, or what HBO Max's plans are for the Snyder Cut going forward. Are they going to try to use the Snyder Cut to connect to their Justice League Dark series and their Green Lantern series?
It could be like an offspring, possibly like
Right. And then the other thing that I didn't mention is that there's rumors floating around that they're going to do a Cyborg series now as well with Ray Fisher. So I think a lot of this hinges on how well the Snyder Cut is received, how well it does. And I think if it's successful, I think, we even said this in our Snyder Cut talk that it's just going to change. It's going to change DC as a whole.
right, but let's just like pump the brakes.
I know.
Like let's just like I know I don't want them like we were saying earlier in this episode. Like I don't want them to kind of get ahead of themselves and just start announcing all these things and like it's okay to be excited.
Yeah.
We love exciting. We love being excited, but like let's just see how this does and let's just like progressively and like naturally see like how we can possibly branch off from this because I would love a Cyborg series.
Right.
I already told you that Ray Fisher as Cyborg was my favorite part of Justice League. I would love to get to know the character more. So, yeah, but let's just like just one step at a time, baby steps.
Right.
Baby steps.
And I think if it's one of those things where that you have a better core group of people that are in charge and that are running things now, the hope is that if they think that there is a way that they can salvage what they had and they can start to reconnect things and make it back to being more of a connected universe, I'm all for it.
Right.
I'm definitely on board for it. And if the first step of it is putting Cavill in more movies that aren't focused on Superman, that he's just there and he comes in for, short cameo or even like a small part, I think that's cool. I think it's cool,
Right.
and I'm excited to see it.
I mean, we still have like other personal issues going on with some of the actors, but that's like
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let's just kind of, let's just take it one step at a time. We got the Snyder Cut coming out, which is super exciting. We're really looking forward to that. And yeah, we kind of in our last episode when we were talking about in the F Nerd discussion, we were talking about the Snyder Talk, like the news of that Cavill was coming back literally just broke like right after that. So
right,
like,
as we were editing that episode.
Like, fuck.
Yeah.
but yeah, like when you say that he's coming back and he posts a picture of him at the gym, the internet's you're gonna blow
of
up.
Course,
Yeah, like
of
everyone's
course.
gonna be like, he's getting back into Superman shape, and rightfully so. So I'm like convinced that he's coming back, and like you were saying before with the additional photography. Obviously, more reports kind of came out since we did that episode.
Yeah.
And it's looking more and more like there's definitely going to be
it's probably going to
photography.
happen, yeah.
Yeah, so what Nick was saying before was that the CEO, Bob Greenblatt, I believe his name is, he was on the podcast and they were talking about the Snyder Cut and how it's going to be an extra 20 to 30 million. And he apparently joked and saying, I wish it was just 30 million.
It was that.
So clearly, like, and then everyone fucking went crazy. Like, wait,
Right.
is going to be more money? Why is it going to be more money? Are you bringing, like, so...
Right. Which I mean, like, you know, it was funny that when that report came out, it's only gonna be 20 to 30 million, and the fact that Zach pitched it as a possible series, it only made sense to me that you're gonna have to come back and rework a few things and probably reshoot some stuff with certain actors, because if you're trying to turn this into a 6-episode or an 8-episode miniseries, you're gonna have to really refocus it a little bit around the fact that it's going to be in individual episodes. You have to give each individual episode, you know, somewhat of a through line and somewhat of its own contained story in order to advance it to the next episode. And like each episode has to, he even said that he detailed it out with each episode ending on a cliffhanger, you know, going forward. So it only made sense to me that you have to come back and reshoot some things to rework it into that kind of structure. So the fact that he came out and was like, oh yeah, it's going to cost more money and we have to shoot. And like, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. You're going to have to shoot more shit no matter what.
Just for me, I just kind of saw it as a... like 20 to 30 for post-production, and that to me kind of made sense. That I don't know too much about like numbers logistically when it comes to that kind of stuff, but just kind of what I know off of like movie budgets and things like that, I figure like 20, 30, okay, for him to finish his original vision, like that makes sense.
Rescore it,
you
know,
re-edit it.
Re-edit it, but also redesign Steppenwolf and insert him back into every single scene.
All this other crazy shit, like 20, 30 million, like that. You can literally make like, what, 6 Blumhouse movies with that?
Basically, yeah.
Pretty much. So yeah, like that makes sense to me. But like obviously it looks more and more like these at least Cavill, or it looks like there's going to be additional photography. So yeah, man, this is crazy that they're actually letting him do this and giving him the resources he needs. Like, good for them. Like,
yeah,
really.
It's I think they saw an opportunity with it, and you know, like we said, it's because it's this new streaming service, and
they're struggling right now,
and everyone's fighting to have like the thing that gets you on board for it, and yeah, the fact that HBO Max launched, which I mean, like it was very strange with their launch, because they launched without anything that's really like, oh, we have to get it. Like when Disney Plus launched, it had The Mandalorian.
Right.
Like it was like, oh, all right, that's the show to watch. HBO Max is launching with nothing to watch.
And it had some like Discovery, like not Discovery, yeah, like National Geographic and shit. Like,
well, it had one of my favorite shows, the Jeff
Goldblum
show,
right.
which
so
was
it's
great.
Like you had your big budget show, and you had like other little small stuff that you can only be there.
Which HBO Max has an original show, and it has a few like other things. Like they did a relaunch of Looney Tunes, and apparently it's awesome. Like it's very much like the old school Looney Tunes, which I do want to check out eventually. But yeah, it's just weird that they launched it and they didn't have every movie you would expect them to have in their library, especially for DC stuff. Like none of the Nolan stuff is in there.
And apparently, like I know Doom Patrol is going to come to that. So, but that's that's like a month later.
It's a month later. There's no like the Harley Quinn series is not on there yet. So it's just weird how things are so split up. The Harley Quinn. We're gonna have to.
We're gonna talk about it, but Harley Quinn series. Oh my god, I can't believe how much I fucking like that show.
Yeah,
like I really can't. It's so good.
It's very good. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited and looking forward to Cavill coming back in future projects. Like I already know, like I'm looking forward to just like something going on and just hearing that voice off screen. Like I can picture him being like, "Ma'am," like just like in Cavill, like Superman, like fashion, like or like saving a kitten from a fucking tree or something.
Do what you expect Superman to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just being very Superman. Like I know, Shazam is my favorite DCEU movie. To me, that just feels like the most complete, well thought out, from
start to finish.
From start to finish, it just feels like the most complete film. And yeah, I'm all about that kind of. I like dark. I love dark, you know. But I'm all about also that kind of when it's done right and when it's properly done, not like fucking forced.
Right.
You get some really good stuff. And if you can kind of bring some of that more like lighthearted element to Superman, like we were just saying, like yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. All right, Nerds Nation, that is it for episode number 9. Wow. Episode number 9.
We just close out the Star Wars trilogy.
We just closed. Yeah, the Skywalker saga is finished.
Hopefully, this episode was better than Rise of Skywalker.
Hopefully. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. As always, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube.
If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. It makes us feel all nice and fuzzy inside, like we've said.
Yep.
And like we always say this, but you can talk to us if you want. You know, we don't bite unless you want us to. You know, it's up to you. We don't know what kind of kinky shit Nerds Nation is up to, but yeah, we're always here.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of stuff going on now, and just be good to each other.
And hopefully, we can make people smile amongst
some of the chaos.
Some of the chaos that's going on.
Yeah.
Like literally, Joker, Agent of Chaos is out there. Like,
yeah,
literally. So,
literally.
But yeah, thank you all for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
Later.